Welcome, NoDQ Galaxy, to this week's NoDQ review, and I am Virtue, the biggest Chris Jericho mark there is, there ever was, and there ever will be. And I am joined by the panel today of Greg Cherry, Aaron Rift, and Cindy. Are we calling you Cindy or Cindy G?
Either one could be fine.
What's going on, Cindy?
I'm doing pretty good so far. I'm very excited to say whatever that comes into my mind. And how about you, Virtue?
Not bad, and we have a nice little lineup today. And I'd like to thank all the viewers last week. We had a pretty red-hot review, and it got a lot of early views and a lot of early thumbs up. And I tried to make this show very similar to that, and we're actually going to put some Twitter questions with your Twitter handles spread throughout. Greg Cherry, the reigning Wrestling Trivia Challenge champion. What's going on?
Yes, the longest reigning Wrestling Trivia Challenge champion in the show's history. Almost 110 days as of today or tomorrow or whenever this goes up. I'm doing pretty well. I'm looking forward to Season 5 whenever that starts. And I got the Tough and Worthy shirt, getting the plug out of the way for my Pro Wrestling Tees store. Get them. There's a sale coming up, I believe, next week. Or it's starting what, Sunday or Monday?
Monday.
For Pro Wrestling Tees? Monday. So I'll plug that at the end of the show.
Nice. Probably like 20% off, right?
I believe so, yeah.
With that said, Aaron, you have a whole bunch of new T-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees, which I know you'll talk about it in the end, but Cindy is going to have her shirt. Aaron, you want to explain what's up?
It's already up on Pro Wrestling Tees, but if you wait till Monday, you can get 20% off, and there's several other shirts, but we'll plug that at the end. Real quick, though, NoDQ.com/shirts. Check it out. I'm doing well. I'm happy to have Cindy on here today. Jeff Meacham, unfortunately, could not make it, but Cindy is a very worthy replacement for Jeff Meacham, and I'm looking forward to this video. We got a lot of topics to cover, so Virtue, let's go ahead and get started.
All right, well, let's start with a little bit of Monday Night Raw, and let's go back to the classroom, back to high school, the musical without the singing, unless Aiden English was involved. And this is Bayley versus Sasha. Saved by the bell, if you would. We're just missing Mr. Belding. So I want everyone's thoughts. We finally got something that happened, but I don't know exactly what happened. Did Bayley turn heel? Is Sasha supposed to be the heel? One of the Twitter questions was our very own @Stephen Osborne asked, is Bayley a heel or a face? Or maybe should she be a heel or a face? So, Greg, I know you're a big Sasha fan and supporter. I want to start with you on this one. What the heck's happening with this?
See, you wouldn't know it based on the crowd reaction, but I believe that was a full-fledged Bayley heel turn. Just because of the way that she talked crap to Sasha after she beat her down. That's not a babyface move by any stretch of the imagination. That is straight up heel, and she even cursed, which I believe the video is on NoDQ.com, the uncensored version, cursed at Sasha, which surprising coming from Bayley, even if it was an out-of-character thing. So I believe she turned heel. I think it was the right move because we've seen this heel Sasha against face Bayley, and babyface Bayley on the main roster hasn't done a damn thing. Let's be honest. She was women's champion, sure, but realistically, she hasn't done anything that memorable. This heel turn is the best thing that she has done since coming to the main roster, my opinion. That's what I got to say about that. I like the feud. I can't wait to see their matches.
Now, I always thought of Sasha to be a really good heel, and I always thought she's kind of got lost in the shuffle as a babyface as well. But maybe that's just the way they portray them on the main roster, and obviously both of these girls thrived in NXT. So, Cindy, what are your thoughts on Bayley and Sasha, and is this the right move? Did they wait too long?
Honestly, to say is, I feel this has gone way too long with these feud. I mean, we were supposed to be having this particular feud at WrestleMania 34. It did not happen. To me, I kind of slowly dying down to this whole Bayley and Sasha situation afterwards. Like, it made me feel bad for both ladies that they have to keep going on with this whole rivalry. And I don't know who is turning heel or not, but with that particular situation with Bayley that happening on Monday Night Raw, I technically don't feel that she is turning heel, not just yet. She's just proving a point to Sasha that she can be as tough and aggressive to her. And especially with that cussing, that is kind of like pretty interesting, but you can hear the whole crowd reactions to it. But to me, I feel that her heel turn is too soon to tell. But what I would like to see, and I've been waiting for so long, is to see Sasha turning heel, but it didn't happen. I mean, her booking situation is by far not as great as it was supposed to be. Like her run in NXT, much better than her current run in the main roster. But now it's like you're putting this whole 2-2 situation. I don't know how it's going to lead into what's going to happen next week on Raw, you know? And I don't think that we're probably not going to see, like, you know, a female version of Team Hell No. I mean, come on now.
Oh, well, the hug it out stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely talk about Team Hell No in this show. Aaron, is there really true heels and baby faces today?
Great
or is
question.
it, because they're back and forth all the time. So is it just whatever that week they need them to be?
Yeah, there might not even be a heel turn for all we know. I think there's a possibility they'll just be shades of gray, both of them. I felt like it was sort of a heel turn because Bayley was acting like a heel, as you said, Greg, standing over her, trash-talking her. But at the same time, like what Cindy said, it was just more Bayley showing an aggressive side, which doesn't necessarily mean a heel turn. So I think it could go either way. And who knows, maybe if it was designed as a heel turn and WWE saw that reaction, they'll change course next week and they'll make Sasha the heel. It's hard to say right now. It could go either way. Greg, is there anything else you would like to add about this?
I do, because if this was Bayley showing her aggressive side, she is a year plus too late.
Yeah.
Because the Alexa Bliss Bayley kendo stick on a pole match, she was, that match I think is what killed her main roster run. So this is not like a babyface Bayley taking it out on Sasha. I still think it's a heel, because babyface Bayley would not do that, because we've seen babyface Bayley not have that kind of aggression. So I take it as a heel turn.
But even if it was, they could just change course next week and go in a different direction, because it could just be Bayley showing a more aggressive side. I don't know, and that's the problem with the storyline. Nobody really knows. But at the same time, it's the first thing that's happened in this feud that makes me actually interested in seeing them fight. So on that note, I label it a success. Virtue?
Well, she's going to counseling, so wouldn't that be interesting? The same week they bring Team Hell No back, if Dr. Shelby comes back and is the counselor for this. What they should do, I mean, if Bayley is truly going to be the heel, you know, and they do want to go with that, no shades of gray, come on. Have her beat up the counselor next week. But, you know, again, you know, that's too much these days, so that's really all I have to say about it. Stay tuned. Let's see what happens next week on the Saturday morning after school special. So I even found that picture online of Bayley and Sasha standing in front of the lockers. And that I just stared at it. There was from a Raw. So moving on, the Universal Championship. Was it the right booking decision to put it on Brock Lesnar? Because there's a lot of heat with him never being there, the title never being on TV, or was this simply a bad idea? From a business standpoint, we all understand why Vince McMahon does the things he does. Brock makes the most money out of anybody. But does the limited dates, does the limited defenses, does it make that title more prestigious, or does it actually diminish it? Cindy, I want to start with you. Also, Finn Balor never got his Universal title rematch after his injury. Right. And is it because Brock's the champ and, you know, we can't put Finn against Brock? It's not believable, which really is why they haven't done it. And then, of course, we did have a tweet at Calamoa98, and he wants to know, where does Brock's reign stand all time? I'm interested to know what everybody thinks.
Before Cindy gives her thoughts, I thought you were going to bring up the Twitter photo that Finn Balor posted of his bruising right above his ass. Did you see that?
Oh.
Yeah, no comment. I take it that he took a tailbone bump, or that was... Why show that? Oh, because I think they're trying to subliminally get the pardon me, gay angle over with him. They are. But
The
they're
gay
just not
angle?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. If this was the Attitude Era, it would have been full-blown out there. He would be a gay character.
By the way, that
TV.
was my AJ Styles reference, which nobody got.
But he's doing it with the whole Balor Club movement, the rainbow on his tights. That's cool. And nothing against that. But it's just weird. Why tweet that? Anyway, Cindy, so what about this Universal title reign? Was it the right thing to do?
Honestly, to say this, and I've been saying it in past videos, the Universal title has already lost its credibility because, number one, Brock Lesnar, he is the Universal Champion. He's just a part-time roster star. Like, seriously, like, he always come and go, like, whenever there's, like, a major pay-per-view going on. And I feel that it's a really bad decision for WWE to put Brock as a reigning Universal Champion because there's no any other opportunities whatsoever just to have these guys to get like a title opportunity. I understand, yes, Finn Balor should have a rematch, but I understand with WWE's logic, they're just protecting Finn from his previous injury, which I don't blame them, but I would like to see him getting a rematch. Not just him, but also Kevin Owens as well. I mean, he did lost his Universal title to Goldberg, which is, of course, is a blatant bad decision.
Hey, Cindy, and guess what? The previous Universal Champion was Goldberg, a part-timer. That title is getting that stigma.
Exactly. Like, even though, like, having, like, a part-time title, it doesn't even bring into, like, the higher caliber for that. So, I just feel like WWE have to be mindful when it comes to like having like who is in the part-time aspect and who's in the full-time. So having Brock being the Universal Championship, yes, it is good on paper. It brings a lot of like profits, but at the same time, it's not bringing as much notoriety whatsoever. And if I could think of like a few years from now, I'm not going to remember the Universal title being irrelevant. I can only just remember the WWE champion, and that's it.
Where would you rank this title reign for Brock? Well, upper tier, middle tier, or lower tier of all-time reigns? Honestly, even though it's been lengthy, but he's only defended it 10 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where would you rank it? Upper, middle, or lower?
It's going to have to be lower. That's all I have to say, because there's no credibility. No procedures going on. I feel like the WWE Championship and the Intercontinental Championship are in the higher ranks.
I'm sure.
Aaron, I'm going to pass it on to you. I'm going to pass it on to you next. Go ahead, man.
Well, there's several issues. I think one issue is that it was already done. Brock Lesnar already had the WWE title reign back in 2014 as a part-timer where he only showed up once in a while. So when you do it again, it gets boring. And this second reign, this Universal title reign, has been way longer than the first one. If you believe the internet reports, the original plan for WrestleMania this year was for Roman Reigns to beat Brock Lesnar. That did not happen. And now the title reign has just dragged out even longer. So, yeah, I think that's the real problem, is that it's just boring television. We never see the World Championship being defended. And like Cindy said, the IC title feels like a bigger deal right now because at least we get to see it defended on television every week. So yeah, I am definitely in the camp of Brock Lesnar as Universal Champion is boring for the viewers. Business-wise, I'm sure WWE can argue that it's adding credibility because people believe Brock Lesnar as the guy. Whatever. I'm just bored with it personally. I'm bored with the Paul Heyman promos, even though I love Paul Heyman. I mean, what does that tell you? That's pretty much all I have to say about it. Greg, your thoughts?
Just for clarification, what's the Universal Championship again? I don't remember because we don't see it ever.
That's a good point.
It's the John Cena title.
Yeah, you can't see it. To quote Jeff Meacham, here's the thing. The WWE Championship run he had from 2014 to 2015, I feel like that one was more important because he had quality matches all the time.
Yeah.
This reign with the Universal title, one of his best matches, realistically, was his match against Goldberg where he won it. And that was a 5-minute match where they just beat the crap out of each other. That was enjoyable.
or the AJ Styles match, which wasn't even for the title.
Yeah, that one. But of course, AJ Styles. I mean, how can we? It's very hard to get a disappointing match out of AJ Styles.
Right.
I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's hard to do. The thing with Brock's reign this time around, and I don't know if it's the fans want it to end or the fans want it to end just not at the hands of Roman Reigns. Because I think WWE was hoping, we'll just make everybody hate Brock, so by the time Roman wins the title, they'll be like, oh, thank you, we have the title back. But it's backfired on them because they haven't given the title to Reigns. So it's like, now if you give the title to Reigns, like you've given him like 3, 4, 5 shots at the championship, and he's failed every time until that time. So I'm hoping they don't go to Brooklyn with Reigns and Lesnar again for the Universal title because we've seen it before. We don't want to see it again. Yes, it's a hard-hitting match, but the fact of the matter is people don't want to see it. It doesn't matter how good the match could be. If people don't want to see it, they're going to turn their backs on it.
Yep, and I think that having it on Lesnar and having him barely show up, I think it diminishes the title. And as a matter of fact, I would put it in the lower end of all-time title reigns despite how long it's been. I would have actually had Balor get his rematch against Brock. And after the longest time we didn't see the Demon, we saw him, and he beats Brock.
You'd have him
but
beat
again,
Brock?
Balor beat...
Whoa. Hold on a minute here. Weren't you the guy making fun of Finn Balor for being the Fonz and saying there's no way he would be believable beating Brock Lesnar?
And on video, I've been the same guy that said that's because he needs the Demon gimmick. So therefore, I'm putting this Demon gimmick over, saying he should have got his rematch for storyline logic. And when he finally got it after over a year of not showing that gimmick, he walks out that against Brock, and they let him beat him. Because the Demon gimmick is still undefeated, am I correct?
I believe so.
Okay, there you go. So again, they've taken the Demon gimmick away from him, which to me completely diminishes Finn Balor. That's what I'm against. That's on video. Go back and watch them. So there you have it. Good one, Callum Owen 98.
All right.
Ready for the next topic? Greg, this is from our friend, I believe she's over in Wales, at WWE Our Dream. You know she knows who we're talking about. She asked this question. How can Triple H, over the years, more so when he was a wrestler, go from being the hated burial guy that always went over, always had championships, to the god of the indie smart marks because he's the godfather of NXT? That's a very good question, and I don't even know what I'm going to say, so I will go last. Aaron, I'll start with you. Can you help Rachel out here?
He's just the smartest man in wrestling. He knows how to pull all the strings. He knows what to do, and he does love the business. It is his life. He married the boss's daughter. The guy has made all the right moves. What else can I say? I think it just comes down to that. I really have nothing else to say on it.
Interesting. Greg?
See, I was supposed to give you crap if you didn't use one of Rachel's topics, but Rachel, here we are talking about one of your topics. The thing is with Triple H, back in 2003, 2004, there really wasn't a big social media thing. So we were still, in some aspects, even with dirt sheets, we were still kind of getting worked with Triple H being the world heavyweight champion all the time. And we were sick of it, much like we just talked about Lesnar. We're sick of him with long championship reigns and whatnot. With NXT now and everything he's done to change the business to make it more focused on the actual in-ring work. Not saying that there's not good storylines going on, but the actual in-ring work is the focus of NXT. And that's why it's become so successful, because as much as we get invested into characters and into storylines, we are wrestling fans because of the wrestling. That's why we enjoy it. And
I
Triple
actually
H,
enjoy it for the characters, bro.
Yeah.
Well, to each their own. But the majority of smart marks, as it is, like the in-ring work. And they critique them, even though they never stepped foot in a ring before. But the in-ring work is a big factor of NXT's success. Yes, there's great characters down there. The Velveteen Dream, for one. You have Aleister Black. You have Ricochet, who's not really a character per se, but he's an energetic personality. You've got a bunch of guys down there. I'm sure I'd be listing the entire roster at one point.
Right.
But you've just got a great group of people down there busting their butts to put on the best show in the world.
Well,
and it's showing, and it works.
Triple H knows how to please the most diehard fans, I will say that.
So, a success, small term, yes. Major, it's not. It doesn't draw casuals. That
was it
product,
sold out at Chicago?
Triple H's vision. I think he just felt challenged he knew people were turning on Vince's vision and product, and he wanted to be the guy that they all went to and beloved. So from that aspect, it's great. NXT is a success, but it's small because when they put it on the USA Network, it only had 800,000, and I know that was the first time. Maybe if they kept forcing it, it would grow. But if it was really a success, if there was that many fans that like that type of product, that first network USA show when they put it on there would have drew millions.
Yeah.
Right?
And Virtue, they were not sold out for Chicago.
You're right. Mm-hmm. You're right. Now, I enjoy both. I like the in-ring wrestling product, 20, 30-minute matches, drama. But I also, like Aaron said, we like characters as well. And it is funny to see on social media, on the internet for years, Triple H was the burial guy, and now he is beloved. Cindy, what's your thoughts on this?
All I can say is that throughout the years, Triple H has been going through these transition from being an in-ring wrestler to now being in charge of NXT and 205 Live, even though it's just in the back burner. Anyway, so for how he is doing in NXT, he's doing a wonderful job. He's giving everybody opportunities, whether either it's past athletes or even independent wrestling star. It just brings more of a drawing aspect. And he's doing a pretty good job how to make sure each of the talent getting their on-screen airtime. And the thing for me is not only I'm supporting of the matches and the character development, I'm supporting each of the talents that's coming from the indies or even other athletic profession, trying to make it big into where they are at, especially just making their one goal is just to be known for themselves, for making their name to themselves in NXT and possibly a call up to the main roster in their near future. So he's doing a fantastic job. How he is doing right now, yeah.
Now, we all know the wrestlers in NXT, their pay, I don't have the exact figures, but we know their pay scale is a lot lower than the main roster. Mm-hmm. So, for them, they want to make the main roster and they want to make the big bucks and support their family. Some people leave, when they do hit the big time, they're not happy with the creative and what they get. Cody Rhodes is one of them.
Yep.
Now, Aaron, Cody was able to sell this all-in event, 10,000 tickets, whatever, and it's sold out. But New Japan is struggling to sell tickets at the Cow Palace. So that, an NXT did not sell out in Chicago. So this is a niche. It's still a niche product, the in-ring wrestling work. People still want the stories, the drama, the soap opera.
Right.
I just wish there was a way they could intertwine it all. And to be honest with you, Triple H is right there. Him and Stephanie, they're the future of running this company. Mm-hmm. Triple H is already getting his yes men in, and I don't want to say yes men because I think Shawn is more than that, but I do like to see the team that he's building. I just hope when they do take over for Vince, that they do give a nice balance, something that Vince never really did. Vince was all about characters and his guys and stories. He didn't necessarily worry about the wrestling.
Right.
I just hope Triple H finds a nice balance. So
I agree on that, and it's all about finding a balance, and I feel like NXT is a place for these guys to learn their craft and to prepare for the big time. With NXT, it wasn't sold out, but it's still 10,000 people there, and these guys are getting their feet wet. I think it's a good thing. I think Triple H is doing a good job with it, and I like variety. I do like different types of wrestling, and I think it's good to have different styles and just keep it interesting. When it's the same thing all the time, it gets boring. So I do like variety, and I am interested in this New Japan show just because it's something different for me.
Yeah, I wish I could go to that one with you, man, and but I had fun in Chicago, but you're going to have this one without me.
Aw.
Yeah.
Well,
speaking of styles,
I'll be there.
Nice segue, Aaron. You said Styles. And this next question was from @Tito Wrestling.
All right, Mr.
People
Tito.
know who he is. And he asked us, our opinion, is AJ Styles, the WWE champion, to blame for SmackDown's viewership or not? Is it beyond that? So, Greg, I'll start with you this time. He asked that question. This is an interesting one. What do you think?
It's easy to blame the champion, like who's supposed to be their main draw for the ratings, but for a couple months there, the writing on SmackDown, as much as we like to give Road Dogg crap, I don't, but people give Road Dogg crap. The writing on SmackDown was not fantastic. Lately, it's been getting better. There have become more reasons to watch SmackDown, and that's probably because they got the Fox deal going on next year, that they really want to ramp up the quality of the show. So I'm hoping that I don't blame AJ for the ratings, because, and we've brought this up before, the rating system now compared to what it was back then when it was just the Nielsen ratings and they sent you the little letter and like $3 or whatever to like fill out the stuff.
I actually got one of those recently.
Really?
Yeah, $5.
Yeah, I haven't had one of those in friggin' years. But my point is, the ratings now are different because you've got social media, you've got YouTube, you've got the WWE network, you've got all these different things that factor in. And Virtue, you keep posting pictures of the stock. Clearly, business is going well. I mean, it's some of the highest marks it's ever been in the company's history. So clearly, business in and of itself is doing well. So who cares about ratings?
It is. Yeah, you're right. And it's so hard to argue. The people that think the ratings are the end-all, be-all, and there's no top big star anymore, that model has changed. Vince might be afraid of anybody becoming bigger than the WWE because he loses them, and maybe that's why he's not letting anybody become a big star. But those are great points. And I know that our friend @Tito Wrestling, oh, man, eye to eye on you, Greg, with that one. I can't even talk. You nailed it. Cindy, follow that up.
Well, honestly, to say this, you guys, AJ Styles being blamed for the poor ratings, absolutely not. And what Greg is saying, it's all because of the writing that is pretty much starting to get bland in the past. Even right before the Superstar shakeups this year, that SmackDown ratings has been pretty much lackluster, and with some of these storyline has been going on. But then right after the shakeup, it's starting to get as much better as it is, because we got like mostly the top tag teams from Raw coming into SmackDown. It seems to be much more better. And also we have like some of the debuts too, like Andrade Cien Almas and Selena Vega. Sanity, even though their lack of their build-up, especially like we haven't seen them up until the last SmackDown. Well, last week they debuted, and this week they came back with EY being the challenger for the United States title, which, yes, sadly to say. But then again, it's all about having like more of the aspects of how they're trying to balance each of the stars for that. With or without AJ being in SmackDown Live, it could set more of like a higher notoriety with other titles too, like the SmackDown Tag Team Champion, the United States Champion, and the SmackDown Women's Champion as well. Even though I'm not too fond of the current situation with the SmackDown Women's division at the moment, but they're trying to set like a balance to get everybody drawn into the attention for how each of the storyline will compel too.
And those are good points. They have in a 2-hour show, which is right. I still feel they don't manage their time well. Do you remember back when, I hate bringing him up all the time, but Russo, and even when Heyman wrote, they got the most out of 2 hours, right? And it's with that said, Aaron, I'll pass it on to you. You know what I think affects SmackDown's ratings? Not AJ. Everyone's burned out from 3 hours of Raw.
That's a very solid point. I agree on that. And I just think that there is no real big mainstream star on SmackDown. as great of a wrestler as AJ Styles is, and as much as he appeals to the people that currently watch WWE, I don't think there's too many people outside of the wrestling bubble that know who he is. WWE doesn't have that mainstream star. And until that day happens, I don't think the ratings are going to go up again. Now, like you said, Virtue, you brought up a good point that Vince might not let it happen. He might not want to push one particular guy too strongly unless it's his hand-picked guy, like Roman Reigns or maybe a Braun Strowman. But yeah, until Vince finds that next guy that could be like John Cena that goes on the Today Show and does all the movies and media appearances, I think the ratings are going to be pretty much where they've been, and they'll just stay that way for the foreseeable future. And the bottom line is WWE's making a ton of money. They got the new TV deals. The contracts have been signed, sealed, delivered, and WWE will continue to do what they're doing, and they'll have success at it regardless of how big the stars become. It just doesn't matter at this point.
Yep, and you notice that Rousey, when she's on Raw. When Brock's on, he's on Raw. That's Vince's baby show, and he's always going to have the biggest stars.
But did you see the press release where it said that SmackDown is the flagship show? Did you notice that?
Well, yeah, they can say whatever they want. They're revisionist historians, right?
Yeah.
So, but and I could now bring up Roman, as you said. Maybe Vince doesn't think Roman can be the next Cena, and that's why he hasn't won the Universal title, and he's still handcuffed to be. And it's crazy. We don't even Braun. We don't have, and people will argue maybe the talent is not good enough with these people to reach Stone Cold and The Rock level. I still think you don't know unless you're giving that opportunity. Those guys got that opportunity, and obviously their stars shined when they did. Today, I just don't think a lot of these wrestlers. I think the last person to get that opportunity was probably CM Punk, Cena too. Am I missing anybody? The last wrestlers to get that opportunity to shine?
Yeah, I mean CM Punk to a degree until he became the champion, and then it was all about The Rock and John Cena.
But it still worked though. He got his brand over though.
Yeah, you could argue Daniel Bryan. But then he got hurt.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for Daniel Bryan is he probably would have got over anyway, but Punk leaving definitely pushed Bryan up there. So very interesting, though. Thank you, Tito Wrestling. Let's move on. This one's easy peasy. The Team Hell No reunion on SmackDown. Daniel Bryan and Kane. Greg, I'll start with you.
I mean, I like it because we were wondering what was going to happen with Daniel Bryan after the Big Cass storyline, which was, let's face it, a disaster from the get-go. So putting him in a tag team title match they might be protecting him a little bit health-wise with this because of the nature of a tag team match. You don't have to work as much during the course of it. But it also gives fans a feel-good feeling because, let's face it, Team Hell No, one of the most entertaining teams of the last decade.
Yeah,
it's very hard to argue that point because the combination of, here's Kane, this monster, and Daniel Bryan, this little small guy, and they were arguing all the time, but it was funny. It was so entertaining. The stuff with Dr. Shelby, all the way through their tag team, it was fantastic. So I'm hoping that there's more of that to come just because of the entertainment factor. But I like it because it gives Daniel Bryan something important to do, something noteworthy to do, because nobody cared about his feud with Big Cass. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just hate filler and rehashing, and therefore I'm not on that same side of the fence as you are with this, and I just hope it's short. I hope it's short and sweet.
Well, I think it will be.
Aaron Rift?
Yeah, I think it will be short because Kane, I believe his election is the beginning of August, if I'm correct about that. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a one-off thing. Kane is most likely going to be retired after this election. He will most likely win, and that'll be the end of his wrestling career. I think this is just being done to take advantage of the timing. Kane is available, so why not have them reunite? Daniel Bryan is back. Kane is still available to wrestle, so do one more run with those guys. I could see them possibly winning the titles and then losing them back right away, but it's interesting because I don't know if Bryan's going to be losing any more matches at this stage of the game. I don't think he should, since My gut feeling is it's going to be Bryan versus AJ or Bryan versus Miz at SummerSlam. But maybe there'll be one more feel-good moment with Kane and Daniel Bryan winning the title. Cindy, if it was you, would you have them win the titles one more time and then lose it back right away, or would you just have the Bludgeon Brothers win at the pay-per-view?
Well, that's a pretty interesting question, because the thing is that since Kane has some availability until August for his election, and for how they're going to build with that storyline, I feel that Team Hell No will win their SmackDown Tag Team title at Extreme Rules, but then again lose it at SummerSlam to like any other tag teams besides the Bludgeon Brothers as well. So it kind of sets apart for not just Daniel Bryan to have a feel-good moment, but also having like more of a legacy for Kane, since he's been with WWE for X amount of years. And with that tag team championship, it could be like a one last accomplishment for him. But overall, with Team Hell No reuniting, that kind of sets like a very amazing feel-good moment. And like next week, we'll have probably a return of Dr. Shelby just for Raw, but maybe we'll probably see him again on SmackDown Live, since Team Hell No is one of Dr. Shelby's success story, you know?
Yep.
Well, you know what would be cool, Cindy, is if we don't get Dr. Shelby on Raw for Sasha and Bayley, that The Miz brings him in to try to create turmoil with Kane and Daniel Bryan.
Ooh.
I want to see more Miz.
That-
I know they're waiting. I guess I've come to grips with that. This is another one Rachel asked. They're going to wait. And I will wait till we get to the main event. I have a great idea for WrestleMania next year. But I just want to see, they don't have to fight. I would just like to see more of Miz meddling with Bryan. Build it. Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So David, I got a question for you. Would you do Daniel Bryan versus The Miz at SummerSlam, or would you save that for perhaps WrestleMania?
Hold that question for the main event. We'll bring that back.
Okay.
Yes. Anybody else? We actually have another topic before we get to the main event. Everyone good with Team Hell No?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We're good with Team.
Oh, by the way, I don't think they'll. I personally wouldn't have them beat the Bludgeon Brothers and have the Miz cost and let the Bludgeon Brothers keep the title through this. That's what I would do.
So no final title reign for Kane?
No.
Okay.
Best female wrestler today. Last week we did the best male wrestler, and we got Chris Jericho. I said Kenny Omega. AJ's name was up there. Let's do the best female wrestler today. Thank you at RealBigDave98 on Twitter, because he, intertwining with this, he asked the question, is Alexa Bliss the female Roman Reigns? I think we understand what he means by that. Aaron, I'm going to start with you on this one. Let's do honorable mention, and let's do your top choice.
Honorable mention, interesting question. It's hard for me to answer because I have a couple of people that are maybe neck and neck with each other. I don't think there's any one person that just stands out above the rest, although I think there are maybe 3 or 4 that are in contention, and Alexa has to be up there in terms of her promos. I think she does a really good job, and she's just an overall charismatic, entertaining performer. And Charlotte has been great. Charlotte has been putting on a lot of interesting performances as of late, and I think she's living up to her father's legacy. She's creating one of her own. She's definitely up there. I really enjoy Becky Lynch's work. I think she's definitely capable of being in a higher position in the company. It feels like they've been holding her back a little bit. So I think it's a tie between the 3 of them. Sasha, I think, has some potential too, but again, she's been held back. And Bayley, we saw an aggressive side of Bayley. I think all 5 of them could be a serious contender for number 1. But I'm going to go ahead and say Becky. I think Becky is very underrated as far as
she's absolutely the top most underrated one on the roster. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I just think she has all the attributes. She can wrestle. She's attractive. She's very charismatic. I mean, when you look at all the attributes, I mean, she's just like the total package in a good way, not the Lex Luger way. So I'm going to go with Becky. And honorable mention, I mean, any of the 3, I could go with either one of them. I'll just say Alexa, because Alexa, I feel like when she came to Raw, she really became one of the top stars and really started to shine. So I'll say Alexa right now for the honorable mention.
All righty. Cindy, I should have probably started with you first on this. My apologies. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to have to say for my honorable mention, because she's been with WWE for so many years, and she is a former women's champion and a former Divas champion. And now that she brought back around 2016, that she is like kind of like guiding some of the current female roster, just like how to like be the best they can be. Especially she is now still aligned with Alexa Bliss, like having her behind her back. So my honorable mention is going to be Mickie James. Like I absolutely respect her big time, whether she's a babyface or a heel. She knows how to carry the current women's division, and especially like with the current women's revolution, like just bringing back like a veteran of WWE and coming back just to help the guidance of the current star. And as for like the top female wrestlers, well, I'm actually torn between two, because number one, I'm actually a huge fan of this one particular wrestler because of her amazing in-ring promo, especially as I stated in past videos, that despite like the bad segment, she knows how to bring each of the bad segment into like more of a good mic skill. So I'm torn between Alexa Bliss and one other particular person that she is carrying a legacy in WWE, Charlotte Flair. Also, especially you have Charlotte, like she's the first female superstar is on the issue of Body 10 from ESPN, like just promoting more of the body positive, and that shows like a huge sign of respect for Charlotte, and especially like carrying on more of the legacy of like being the women's championship for either Raw or SmackDown. I have a feeling that she is more of like a Hall of Fame worthy type of wrestler in like few years to come. So if I could choose one, I'm going to have to go with Charlotte over Alexa.
Yeah, and you can't argue with that. Absolutely not. Greg, you can't. I know. Tough decision, but a good one. Yeah. Greg.
Well, I'm going to first state that everybody knows I'm a Sasha Banks fan. She's like one of the only good parts about the city of Boston. My distaste for Boston is not unrecognized on this channel.
Don't we have a chat moderator, Boston Punk or something like that?
We do, and we also, I believe Kayfabe Candy Ass is in Massachusetts. I'm not sure how close to Boston he's in.
Interesting.
He is. I give him a hard time about it, too.
Oh, bastard.
But I'm not going to go with Sasha for the top two, because as much as I love Sasha's in-ring work and her promos, it's kind of a what have you done for me lately type deal with Sasha. Because Sasha and Bayley, in the next month or two, if you ask me, I'll probably put Sasha back up there because I expect this feud to be great. But that's just me. But right now, I'm going to give my honorable mention to Becky Lynch because, like Aaron said, she is the total package between the charisma, the in-ring ability, just the overall talent, just the overall package.
Likable, very likable personality.
Absolutely. And you know what? She is almost like the female Johnny Gargano. She is so popular that you can't help but to cheer for her.
Right.
So it's kind of that comparison. For the number one, though, I have to go with Alexa Bliss, just because I was a fan of her work in NXT when she joined up with Murphy and
Blake.
Yes, Blake and Murphy. I couldn't remember his name for some reason. Yeah, when they became unit, the three of them, I saw something in Alexa Bliss as she's got something, her babyface work was real positive and very Rocky Maivia-ish. But as soon as she turned heel, she hit her stride and she has ran with the ball for the last 3 years.
Absolutely.
She has been incredible. And even with the segments she's been given, like the This Is Your Life with Bayley, which we all try to forget, she has brought prestige to the women's division, and that's why she's a 5-time women's champion. I mean, she really deserves that spot, and she's talented. She's athletic. Alexa Bliss is probably one of the biggest female stars in the entire company.
Now, None of us mentioned Asuka. Interesting.
Well, I didn't go yet.
Oh, never mind.
So in the same vein, Greg, that you couldn't put Sasha up there in those top two, I like Asuka a lot, but I can't put her up there. I think her work that I've seen online from Japan as Kana, it got some of that work over there was very, very rated R, and it's just different over here. So,
yeah.
Oh, well, she got men slap her around, beat her up in matches. They have some very erotic stuff where the females grope each other in matches. That's a very Japanese thing over there.
Sounds like a Joey Ryan thing.
It's not going to come over here and translate, but just the fact that they have her distracted by Ellsworth, again, not her fault, but in the same vein that Greg put Sasha Banks, Asuka could move back up, but right now she's not there. My honorable mention is Charlotte. Obviously, she's been booked strong. She's been multiple-time champion. She had Flair by her side early, her father. That WrestleMania entrance gave me goosebumps when she had the full-on 1-minute music of Flair and sat up out of the throne. So she's the honorable mention, but Alexa Bliss. Alexa was, everyone talked about the 4 horsewomen through NXT. She was right in there during all of that, but when it comes to main roster, she has, with the exception of Charlotte, has really stood head and shoulders above the rest. And I just like the fact that she's like that Mean Girls gimmick. And there's she did the whole crying to the crowd, thank you so much, thank you. By the way, I don't care about you, before Carmella did.
Yeah, Carmella's just knocking her off, basically.
Yeah.
My buddy and I, when we text, he'll be watching Raw at his house, I'll be watching it, or SmackDown too. Her name comes up more than any other wrestler when we're talking back and forth. I remembered that. She's my number one. Good picks, everyone. All right, main event time. And for our main event, I wanted to ask this question to everybody. And we might have done this before, but I don't know. Something's come up, and I want to do it again.
Well, I thought you were going to address the question I had for you earlier.
It'll get there.
All right.
What match would you showcase if you were Vince McMahon? What match would you showcase at next WrestleMania? Cindy, I'll start with you. One match that you can showcase. You know how they always have multiple main events. So you don't have to feel like you have to pick what the main event is going to be, the one that's going to go on last. Maybe it will. But what would you push hard, and why for next year's Mania?
For next year's Mania, there's this one particular wrestler that never gotten a chance to compete in WrestleMania due to the fact of his numerous injuries. And I feel that for next year's Mania, he definitely needs to have his Mania moment. And I would like to see the feud that has been waiting for, that's supposed to be making things happen. I would like to see AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe.
Interesting.
Like ever since Samoa Joe debuted in the roster, he was there for a brief time and then he got injured. And so for the past 2 WrestleManias, he never gotten the opportunity. So for next year's Mania, it's time that he debut in his first WrestleMania match. And a perfect opponent is AJ Styles.
You can't argue with that. You can't argue with that.
That would certainly make up for him missing the previous 2 WrestleManias, that's for sure.
Normally I go last. I like that. And I'm going to go because, Aaron, you did ask me this question. I don't want you or Greg taking my thunder here. If I was Vince McMahon, this not only would be next year's WrestleMania main event, it would go on last, and I would put all my eggs in the basket on this. At some point, I would have The Miz win the WWE Championship. Okay? Have him finally look strong. No more chicken shit heel stuff. And I would have Daniel Bryan win the 2019 Royal Rumble. And your main event is the chase since his return. Daniel Bryan goes all the way to WrestleMania, goes on last against The Miz. The heat is brought back up from this feud that started last year just because of verbal promos. And the payoff would be Daniel Bryan finally wins back the WWE title. To me, you could go to their houses and film promos. You have the wives. You could have the kids involved in the crib playing. You could make this such a story, which is what Vince McMahon wants. That's what I would do. And remember I said strike while the iron's hot with Miz and Bryan? The only time I'll retract that is if they went this route.
Right.
Greg.
I want Aaron to go next because I have a very interesting pick that I don't think anybody's going to think of. So
okay, yeah, I don't think I'm going to think that what you're thinking of, but see, Virtue, I really like your idea, and that would be like right up there. The only other match that I would think of at the top of the list would be Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles. Now the question is, will WWE do that at SummerSlam or save it until WrestleMania? See, I actually like your idea better, Virtue, because I like the idea of a strong babyface versus a strong heel for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania.
And the wives could be part of the story. I mean, that's just brilliant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think the promos leading up to it would be hot. I think it would be really hot to do that. The thing about AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan is I feel like it would almost be too much like AJ Styles versus Nakamura with the two baby faces heading into WrestleMania. But that's still a dream match, and they're either going to do AJ and Bryan at SummerSlam or WrestleMania if I had to make a prediction. So it's just a matter of what they do. My gut feeling is they're going to do Bryan and Miz at SummerSlam, and they're going to do AJ and Joe. They're going to do that match at SummerSlam as well. I'd love to see Joe in the main event, though, like Cindy said. That would be an awesome match to see Samoa Joe finally get his big WrestleMania moment after missing the two previous years. Now, I'm sure Greg is going to go in a totally different direction here, as he alluded to. Maybe he's going to bring up Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins or somebody on Raw, since we're talking about all the SmackDown people. So go ahead, Greg. Let's see what you got.
Well, you are right. I am going to talk about Raw because there is a match that I want to see how the dynamic of it works. And it kind of goes back to how we talked about Sasha and Bayley's feud, how it was a heel Sasha and a face Bayley, and now the roles are kind of reversed. So I want to see the roles reversed for this match, which I think should be for the Universal Championship. A babyface Seth Rollins versus a heel Dean Ambrose. I think that match would be absolutely on fire, especially, I know they won't go full-blown Jon Moxley with Dean Ambrose, but if they brought some of that into his character once he returns, I think that match would be absolutely incredible. I love their feud in 2014 and 2015 as well. They put on great matches with each other. They just had that chemistry. So I really want to see that match because I think Ambrose is coming back after SummerSlam.
Yeah,
they're not gonna throw him into a match at SummerSlam. Just be like, hey, here's Dean Ambrose.
Right.
So I think they're gonna wait till maybe the night after SummerSlam to bring.
Right. And even if that's not the main event, I think that should still be on the WrestleMania card. I think that should be a building point for WWE. They should head in that direction, have that match planned out, and just slowly build towards it when Ambrose returns. I love the idea of the match, for sure.
But we'll probably get, going on last, Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman. But anyway, yeah, these are all of our, but I didn't say what we thought, what we wanted. So I like everybody's choices. So, what do you think, NoDQ Galaxy? What would you like to see go on last? And I guess, or your featured, one of your big featured matches for Mania next year. Put that in the comments. Also, who you think the best female pro wrestler is today. And then we'll, if I think that your ideas are totally stupid, I'll let you know in the comments.
We know that.
With that said, it's time to say goodbye. So time to do plugs or anything you got to say. Cindy, what's up?
Well, you guys can follow me at nodq.com/Cindy. That's going to take you directly to my Twitter page. Also, make sure to follow me at simply_C_OK on Instagram and on my YouTube channel as well. And take it away, Greg.
You can follow me at nodq.com/Greg, which will take you to my Twitter at PA Sensation. Pro Wrestling Tees, we got a 20% sale going on starting on Monday, July 2nd. So if you want to get all your Greg Cherry tees, prowrestlingtees.com/PA Sensation. Get them all. You can get the 20% off coupon. I believe it's on anything. And if you spend enough money, I think you get a bonus. But that'll be on my Twitter. I'll post that, and you can go directly to that. Aaron.
Nice. And Aaron, do you still have that deal going on for $30?
Yeah, but not for long because there's only a couple of beanies left. So hurry if you want one. If you want a beanie, beach ball, and the belt, $30. Email me nodqmisc@gmail.com. And of course, check out nodq.com/shirts. Cindy has a shirt now, and we got shirts for TJS, Stefan. We got one for Kayfabe Candy Ass, and of course, Big G. We also have a NoDQ debate T-shirt and a NoDQ review T-shirt. And I'm guessing some of us here will be wearing that NoDQ review shirt, before long. But that's all I got, nodq.com for the very latest. And Virtue, you can go ahead and wrap this up.
Follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue, nodq.com/Virtue for my Facebook page. And that's really it. You'll see all my stuff. If I don't like you, I'll block you. But, for Cindy, for Greg Cherry, for Aaron Rift, I am Virtue. I am a sycophant. I am a parasite. I am a worm. I am a troglodyte. NoDQ Galaxy. We'll see you next week.